Opposition says preparations crucial. Air Niugini is stepping up precautions. And global infections rising.
This is National EMTV News with Jeremy Mogi.
Good evening and thanks for joining us for Tuesday's news. There are predictions of shortages in store goods and increases in unemployment as COVID-19 continues to affect economies around the globe. Opposition leader Belden Nama said while the national government has announced additional plans to prevent the virus from entering our shores, economic decisions are needed to finance our economy. Meanwhile, situation reports from the World Health Organization reveal that 4 new countries have reported suspected cases of coronavirus, and the total number of cases and deaths outside of China has overtaken the total number of cases in China.
It has been over 4 weeks since the outbreak of the coronavirus, and economies all over the world are being affected one way or another. The cancellation of annual international sporting events and shortage in revenue from aviation and shipping industries are all direct results of COVID-19. While Prime Minister James Marape has outlined additional preventive measures his government is taking, provincial governments, including private sector, are also coming up with preventive measures against the coronavirus.
Security Council. This will also be a domestic security issue. So we're elevating this from just a health issue to a national security issue. And so that elevation will mean that defense will be on standby, defense facilities will be on standby. And so within whatever resource envelope we have, we want to assure our country that we look into these cases very seriously. So PNG IMR is asked to relocate a facility into Port Moresby. We already have a quarantine facility established at 6 Mile, and for those of you who care to visit it, we can, after this press, I'm going there to see that facility at 6 Mile. We're looking into setting up relevant facilities across. So in the event that it hits us and expense, then those who identified will pick up, placed in these quarantine facilities.
In Papua New Guinea since February, the prices of petroleum products have decreased due to the lack of economic activities in China, causing a decrease in demand for crude oil. Supermarkets in Port Moresby are now running out of hand sanitizers, and there is prediction more goods will go out of stock due to restrictions of cargo ships entering our wharves.
As the commodity prices continue to drop, investment sentiments will affect both government and private sector. And industries, of course, will be adversely affected. It will affect the distribution chain that we rely on to generate our economy. If I was in government today, I will ask the private sector and the SMEs and MSMEs to come up with best practices, and I will sit with them and talk with them. That is how a government should be run, especially when you face an economic crisis in the country.
Thaklagunga, National EMTV News.
National air carrier Air Niugini is taking additional precautionary measures to enhance the protection and well-being of its traveling passengers, adhering to the World Health Organization's advice that there is an extremely low risk of cross-transmission between passengers and crew. To date, there has been no confirmed in-flight transmission of COVID-19 anywhere in the world.
The measures undertaken by the national air carrier comes despite concerns articulated in a statement by the Minister for State-Owned Enterprise, Sasindran Mutuvel, that Air Niugini would see a severe drop in revenue collection due to the continued threat of COVID-19, adding that Air Niugini cutting back on its international flights is necessary to protect the health of Papua New Guineans. A reassuring message by Niugini Managing Director Alan Millen stated that Niugini is ready and has beefed up its precautionary measures by reducing and cancelling flights voluntarily for those locations where infection rates were previously increasing rapidly through Asia, and will continue to do so to all locations showing signs of significant spread, further assuring that all international departure airports with increased levels of infection, that enhanced screening processes are in place and are being implemented to reduce any chance of uplifting passengers to PNG who are showing signs of COVID-19. Other measures include aircrafts sprayed with disinfectants, removal of in-flight magazines to reduce risk of cross-transmission, ensuring all in-flight blankets, headsets are removed and cleaned prior to aircraft cleaning, as well as providing all ground staff, cabin crew and check-in staff with personal protective equipment appropriate to the risk level for their role and location. Furthermore, a recent social media release by the Prime Minister states that flights will be scaling down as of Sunday next week, which will see flights in and out of Hong Kong, Philippines, Narita, Sydney, Honiara and Nadi ceased, and will only have controlled entry from Brisbane, Cairns and Singapore. Anet Kora, National EMTV News.
Madang Governor Peter Yama says he is prepared to stop all foreign vessels and international visitors from entering the province due to COVID-19. A task force team is being set up to look after all entry points in the province to make sure no foreign vessels or persons enter Madang. Yama has promised some funding towards assisting the Madang COVID-19 response team.
Governor Peter Yama says he would be sourcing funds from his PSIB grants to support the Madang COVID-19 response team continue its awareness and preparedness towards the global pandemic. The governor, who announced the 2020 provincial budget last week, says no money was allocated to the response team as the money belongs to developmental projects in the province. Yama is also calling on the 6 MPs to also source money from their DSIP to support the response team in the province.
Because, and I will be calling upon the members of parliament from their PSIP, from my PSIB and DSIB, we can get some money out of dead money under the health sector, which we have appropriation for that. And I call upon the 6 members to put some money in there to assist. So I will also, going to put some money for that purpose.
As the governor is also taking measures to make sure no tourist ships come into Madang. For now, Madang province has no capacity to deal with COVID-19 when and if it does arrive on PNG shores.
We don't have any contingency plan to contain all this type of people. And you know, there's nothing in place. And there's no money and no appropriation for such money like this in here for that purpose. If coronavirus outbreak in Madang province, my people will die like flies. They will die like flies. And that's my fear. National government do not seriously consider the concept of the government, like place like Madang, which we have direct link with all our ports, with timber company, to all the Asian countries. We have direct RD tuna to the other countries. We have Ramon Nickel, and we have big shipment that is come direct to Madang.
For the past 7 weeks, the Madang COVID-19 response team has been carrying out awareness and preparing for the global pandemic. The team has yet to set up a quarantine facility due to funding constraints. However, they have identified a number of quarantine points that will have officers there to monitor.
We have done a budget of, we have estimated a budget of 3.3 million for the next 6 months to roll out our quarantine activities. So for now, we are waiting for the money to come.
The team has also planned for a quarantine facility and an isolation ward. This is in the event that there is a suspect case. The team would need a suspect to be quarantined properly for 14 days before the person can be released. For now, the team does not have the means to set up the quarantine facility nor an isolation ward. Martha Lewis, National EMTV News, Madang.
Overseas, 3 more New Zealanders have tested positive for coronavirus on the day the New Zealand government unveiled a massive rescue package to combat COVID-19. 2 new cases are in Wellington and 1 in Dunedin, health officials confirmed this afternoon. It now takes the total number of cases in New Zealand to 11.
3 more coronavirus cases, all people recently returned from overseas.
We have 2 in a Wellington family recently returned from the United States, and the 3rd in a Dunedin man recently returned from Germany.
In the capital, a man in his 30s and his father in his 70s flying back from the US Saturday on American Airlines flight AA83, Los Angeles to Auckland, then flying to Wellington the same day.
They were picked up by private vehicle at the airport and spent the weekend at home and then were tested. And I should also say that they called ahead to the emergency department so that the emergency department staff were able to wear appropriate PPE and not put themselves at risk.
Another case in Dunedin, a man in his 40s recently returned from Germany. 2 family members now showing symptoms, including a student from Logan Park High School.
Our advice to the school is that if the test result is positive, the school is closed for the next 48 hours while close contacts are traced and put into self-isolation.
The new patients are recovering at home in isolation, but a backpacker not following the rules is set for deportation.
Said that her intention was to continue with her travels. That person has been found and still appears to be unwilling, so the intention is therefore to deport that person.
Testing for suspected cases is being ramped up to 1,500 per day later this week.
That just means doing an extra shift of the laboratory staff. Again, we don't want to run our laboratory staff into the ground, so what's most important is that we test the right people.
Keeping tabs on a health crisis that keeps growing by the day.
Global infections are climbing with more than 180,000 recorded now since the outbreak started. It is important to know that nearly 18,000 of those people have already recovered. As the virus sweeps through Europe, more nations are locking down to try to stop the spread.
Just half a day ago in France, the spring sunshine lured many Parisians outside, in spite of advice to stay home. Tonight, they're under an Italian-style nationwide lockdown.
Nous sommes en guerre.
We are at war, a health war.
Citizens now ordered to stay home. Gatherings, even amongst wider family, banned. The President deploying 100,000 police to ensure people obey or be punished, and also revealing that in just a few hours from now, the whole of Europe will shut its borders for at least a month.
The less travel, the more we can contain the virus.
Britain too upscaling measures.
Now is the time for everyone to stop non-essential contact with others and to stop all unnecessary travel.
New modelling revealing its plan of trying to slow but not stop the virus would see critical care units overwhelmed. The Prime Minister recognised that the government was now asking a lot of everybody, and the UK hadn't seen anything like it in peacetime. He warned these measures aren't just put in place for days and weeks, they could last months.
This is the defining global health crisis of our time. The days, weeks and months ahead will be a test of our resolve.
The World Health Organization imploring nations to test more people.
We cannot stop this pandemic if we don't know who is infected. We have a simple message for all countries: test, test, test.
In Europe's epicentre, Italy, a car park full of hearses, not just hospitals, but cemeteries too, now overwhelmed.
In the United States, where cases are rapidly rising, the White House is advising against gatherings of more than 10 people. A growing number of states and cities are locking down, with more than 35 million school children who are now affected by the closures.
From sea to shining sea, the US is shutting down. New York's Statue of Liberty, the latest public building to close. In the San Francisco Bay Area, more than 7 million people ordered to stay home.
Our government is prepared to do whatever it takes we're doing.
The White House calling for gatherings of more than 10 people to be avoided, for the elderly to isolate, for schooling and work to be done from home, and for bars and restaurants to be closed.
We have to take away places for people to congregate, and this is where the virus is spreading.
It's very emotional for a lot of service people to lose their jobs.
If everyone makes these critical changes and sacrifices now, we will rally together as one nation and we will defeat the virus.
In some states, the list of places affected extensive.
Coffee shops, barbers and nail salons, theaters, fitness centers.
The majority of schools in the nation now out of action. Families relying on grandparents for childcare.
Yes, I am afraid, because the virus attacks elderly people, and it seems that the children can transmit and carry it.
There are thousands of people.
These are the lines at supermarkets. Amazon hiring 100,000 new staff as a surge of people turn to online shopping. A spike in cases leaving hospitals short on protective equipment, the White House being urged to build more hospitals.
You have people on gurneys in hallways. That is what is going to happen now if we do nothing.
Right next door to the US, Canada's locking down too.
We will be denying entry to Canada to people who are not Canadian citizens or permanent residents.
Family and Americans can still get in. Donald Trump warning normal life won't return for several months yet.
This is EMTV National News. We'll be back with more after the break. Welcome back to EMTV News. The United Nations has strongly condemned the brutal massacre of men, women and children in the Porgera Valley last week. UN Resident Coordinator to Papua New Guinea, Gianluca Rampolla, called for immediate intervention by state authorities to bring perpetrators to justice. Rampolla said these shocking attacks disregard human rights and the rule of law. Mr. Rampolla reiterated the United Nations' commitment to support the PNG government to embrace development and peace building in the Highlands provinces. The UN also offered its condolences to the families of those killed in the attack. Anglim South Wagi electorate MP Rumanjo Kuli says supporting the law and justice sector and health are key priorities for a district or province to develop. He made these remarks recently during the presentation of 2 ambulances and 2 police vehicles to police stations and health centers in his electorate. However, Kuli says DSIP funding should be given according to the population size.
Joe Kuli's remarks came after he noticed a breakdown of law and order issues and basic healthcare services not reaching the rural population in his electorate. As a first-time MP, he fulfilled his 2017 campaign policy to buy more police vehicles and ambulances. Minch Police Station has only 1 vehicle, which has been patrolling the entire electorate. They are privileged to receive another vehicle presented to them by their local MP, Joe Kuli, from the DSIP funding under the Law and Justice sector budget. Another police vehicle was presented to the Kujip Highway Patrol. Kuli says the 10 million kina DSIP funding is not enough to cover all sectors of the public service. He said sectors such as law and justice, health, infrastructure and education needs more funding when there are more than 100,000 population.
El sente no nablonga kuirim siklongo largan karimikolo kuchip karimikolo hagen lo big pla general hospital long straighten molman life long molman
Juwaka Provincial Health Authority CEO Thaddeus Turi appreciate the gesture by the Anglim South Wagi District Development Authority in presenting 2 ambulances to Minch District Hospital and Kindeng Health Center. However, he urged other MPs in Juwaka Province to work in partnership with the provincial government to support the provincial health department so that health services can be delivered to the entire population.
Something will help you delivering something last long because you the system.
Meanwhile, Kuli says he will continue to support health and law and justice sectors to attract investors into his electorate.
But time only looking myself law and order problem. All are not making some factory. All are not making some warehouse. All are not making developing something inside of one district or town because time all looking for some law and order problem.
Basima Koyama, National EMTV News, Mount Hagen.
The PNG Accident Investigation Commission, or AIC, is investigating an incident that occurred yesterday 40 nautical miles south of Port Moresby. PNG AIC Chief Commissioner Hubert Namani says a twin-engine Dash 8-400 aircraft operated by Sunstate Airlines departed Jackson's International Airport for Cairns. However, based on information gathered at the initial stage of the investigations, smoke was detected in the cabin of the aircraft, which led the crew to return to Jackson's International Airport. Though no injuries or damages were reported as consequences of the incident, the investigation carried out by AIC will examine all aspects, including operational and technical errors. The AIC is expected to issue a preliminary report within 30 days in accordance with the international standards. And now to what will be a regular feature starting tonight, the NAS Fund Market Report. And now looking at our finance news, the kina closed unchanged at $0.2925 US in the interbank market. At Bank South Pacific, your kina was buying $0.2850 US, $0.4639 Australian dollars, $0.2474 euro, and 29.62 Japanese yen. Looking at commodity prices at New York close, gold is trading lower. Coffee, cocoa, and copper closed lower. Palm oil closed lower. Crude oil is trading lower, while copper closed the day higher. And on the stock market report, the Dow Jones closed at 2,997 points lower. The ASX is trading at 291.41 points higher. The All Ordinaries is trading at 274.61 points higher. We'll take a short breather here and we'll have more of the day's other stories on the other side. Welcome back to the news. Kundiawa Gambog District in Simbu is paving the way for its bulb onion farmers to access better markets. Today, over 100 bags of fresh bulb onions were presented to City Pharmacy Group of Companies in Port Moresby. CPL says the local produce is the hope to substitute imported vegetables as businesses also prepare to accept protective measures associated with COVID-19 announced by the government.
This is the second batch of bulb onions from Kundiawa Gambog District to reach the Port Moresby market. Repacked and ready, the organic produce is directly sold to CPL Group of Companies. The Kundiawa Gambog MP says an understanding with Fresh Produce Development Agency has seen farmers grow not just bulb onions but other vegetables as well. Better market is where the district comes in to assist farmers.
In not only bulb onion, but we're looking at potato, and we're getting consistent with Niugini. We're looking at supplying in fresh vegetables. At least we can bring everything here. I don't think we can import anything. So the major problem we have here is the storage.
Bulb onion is one produce CPL has imported over the years. With coronavirus or COVID-19 becoming a threat to livelihood and business growth, businesses around the country will be stressed to make decisions. Head of CPL Group Mahesh Patel says local produce can substitute imports and farmers must prepare for this if demand is high.
And the idea is to really substitute the imports. We buy a lot of onions from Australia, from New Zealand, yet we can grow everything here. And the challenge for us as a company and as to the farmers as well is why can't we not produce everything here so, we can rouse some imports here.
With the national government imposing restrictions to port of entries due to COVID-19 threats, there is tendency of a decline in importing goods. For the bulb onion farmers of Kundiawa Gambog, more shipment is expected to CPL to sell in its shops. But a recent announcement by Prime Minister James Marape has not ruled out the balance between importing and exporting of goods.
In as much as possible, trade is a two-way thing. Our production will continue, and our export to our export destinations will still be maintained. But again, it also depends on the other side. It's a supply and demand thing. If they still need our produces, then we will be continually producing to send to them. We will not sacrifice our economy in the process.
Jack Lapave Jr., National EMTV News.
Officials from the East New Britain Provincial Government and Kokopo District recently visited Lae to learn about the Lae City Authority's establishment. According to Kokopo Lord Mayor Benjamin Mesmin Murliu, one of the challenges they have is setting up the political and administrative structure and to include both the urban and rural LLGs and wards in the city authority. Interim CEO of the Lae City Authority, Neil Ellery, said these shared experiences will hopefully help the authorities in establishing the Kokopo City Authority.
To serve a whole region, the Niugini Islands.
East New Britain's Deputy Governor, Kokopo Lord Mayor and Deputy Provincial Administrator were all part of the recent delegation to Lae. Lord Mayor Benjamin Mesmin Murliu said this was an opportunity to share ideas and learn from the Lae City Authority's challenges and plans. He said much of the focus has been on urban LLGs and they are faced with the challenge of including the rural wards as well in the city authority.
How best we can learn from LCA and we can come up with our political structure and administration structure and the boundaries of LLGs and how we can connect the wards to the city where today is paramount.
Trying to implement Kokopo as a city will very much trying to manage a city or metropolitan or municipalities because of like companies in the town, and of course you have to also bring services as well to rural communities that are around.
Apart from the nation's capital, Port Moresby, Mount Hagen, Lae and Kokopo are also declared cities in their respective regions. According to the Lae City Authority's interim CEO, Neil Ellery, the sharing of information and ideas in establishing these authorities is vital.
The focus is on improving our wards, our service, and lifting the people of the wards and providing services to them, and the way forward to do it is through the city authorities.
Now workers are trying to move our city forward and deliver the municipal service to the people.
ENB's Deputy Governor Cosmos Bauk said with Kokopo being a tourism hub, the city authority's plans and development will be focused on tourism and also to create a city that caters for the entire population.
It must represent and as well as give service to the whole people of Kokopo district, as well as Papua New Guinea. When we come to do business in the city, you will come and see a city that serve the general population.
We've got 800 different tribes with 800 different languages, but we're one people. And I think we have to set up cities that cater for everyone.
Lucy Kopana, National EMTV News, Lae.
Lae's Bumbu Road along Lae's Golf Club was one of several roads in the city that was upgraded in the last 3 years. The concreting of the road that was counterfunded by the Lae City Authority and the Marabe Provincial Government at a cost of over 4 million kina was officially opened yesterday. Meanwhile, the road from Unitec Gate to Tent City is currently being upgraded.
This section of the Bumbu Road in Leh was one of the several roads in the city that was upgraded in the last 3 years. According to Leh MP and Minister for Lands and Physical Planning, John Rosso, the upgrade of all suburban and major roads within Leh would cost 150 million kina to complete. Rosso said they would continue on improving the roads slowly that would take another 2 years to complete, with the 10 million kina given to LCA from the provincial government this year.
With the Borbe Provincial Government administration, at least our staff of the Morbe Provincial Government should stop politicizing projects. It's my personal opinion. On not politicizing projects where governor put him, where people member put him, login work for people. Some staff inside lab and also trying to slowing down project for their own benefits, own greed, na own one can recent blongo. This project was supposed to be completed last year.
The concrete of the road from Unitec Gate to Tent City is another major road project that resumed construction after being left unfunded for some time. Meanwhile, another road section that is currently in need of maintenance is the Chinatown Hunter Malang Road.
These main roads belong the responsibility of the Department of Works. In Oblo Provincial Government, and Department of Works is responsible for the maintenance, upkeep and budget of all these roads, the main roads. And road number them work the provincial government na district na one city council. But because mipla na napsin down na ipas na look stuff, mipla put money na area na finish him. Maskilo to em do government na em do this time you me over one plug government that's all. So mipla just carry on na work him that's all.
But changing come up na mindset it changed. This one will change a lot of people. Mindset will change. And we are determined to make this happen, so more mindset will let city change.
People must work from one team, teamwork. Now people must take them Leh City, take them ownership. Work, no straight them Leh first time. Now the end of Zula, people must go to Narbla, all electorate, 8 districts.
Street lights were also part of the development along the Bumbu Road. Members of the public and vehicle users were told to be responsible when driving and to take care of the developments in the city. Julie Badui, Oa, National EMTV News, Leh.
Hekari slipped to third and the Leh City saga. Those stories in Chukai Sports coming up next. Don't go away.
Chukai Sports.
Welcome to Chukai Sports. Leh City FC franchise owner Ian Chow says the team will survive despite the removal of 5-time Premiership winning coach Peter Gunemba and a host of senior players in the team. Chow says the team will be able to replace the players and test out some of the talent that has been warming the benches at the club.
Leh City FC went through what some might say was a cleansing of the team by franchise owner Ian Chow. Chow and his company Leh Biscuit owned the club, and he said the club was not performing well, and thus the decision to sack Premiership winning coach Peter Gunemba and a host of senior players in the team.
So all those supporters who think the old Leh City Dwellers is the same team, no, it's not the same team. The players may be the same, but this team belongs wholly to Leh Biscuit only, and we sponsor it. We support it. I've given them full control, full running of the team, and we're not going anywhere with the team at the moment. In fact, I believe we've gone backwards from the first year, 3 years ago. We were the top team, undisputed. This time, we're not the top team, undisputed. Vita's the new team. They're just equal to us, and we have 6 frontline stars of PNG national team in our team, and we're still struggling.
Leh City is currently in second place in the Kumul Petroleum National Soccer League competition, but the melee has caused some confusion. Apparently there is some false propaganda coming from the former players.
So that list that went out in the social media by Raymond or his One Talks or whatever is not quite right. So there's still one of the top strikers, Emmanuel Simon, has contacted us. He said he's in the team. But on the social media, Raymond saying he's with the rebels who walked out. Well, if you walk out, you don't have a team to go to too. So basically they kill their soccer career for the remaining of the year.
But Ian Chow says Lei City will survive without the old coach and the players that have left. He says they also have saved the franchise some money on their alleged walkout from the club, as Chow didn't pay them their final entitlements.
You did me a favor by walking out. I didn't have to sack you. I was going to pay them, pay the people I was going to move off, their full entitlements and their full pay for the rest of the season. But they just saved me that money. But these guys, like I said, we have a lot of good young players sitting there, been warming the bench for so long. They've been waiting for their chance to get on the field, and today you will see whether they shine or whether they fail. But if they fail, it's not because they're not ready for it. It's today the team is a bit of a jumbled team, but we're going to field the team. We're not worried. Win or lose, we will field the team. That is what a champion team is. Good day, bad day, we still go on the field.
Frederick Sukina National, EMTV Sports.
Still on football, Hekari United have lost their lead in the Kumul Petroleum Holdings National Soccer League competition after losing to last-placed Star Mountain FC over the weekend. Hekari, missing some of their big-name stars, struggled to play as a team, allowing Star Mountain to capitalize on their mistakes, beating Hekari 2-1.
Hekari United were clearly missing some of their big names over the weekend. David Muta, Korea Kupaiga, Patrick Isa and Ati Kepo were some of the players that were seen on the sideline over the weekend. Despite that, Hekari fielded a strong team with Michael Foster as captain and the two Brazilians, Eric Joe at the back and Vinicius Crisozun controlling the front. Hekari United didn't capitalize on their possession in the first half, with a few attempts at goal not hitting the target. The experience of Foster was on show, but Hekari were not stringing passes well on the field. Crisozun tried to organize attacks, but the team seemed off their game plan at times. Star Mountain was new and improved in areas as well. A new coach, Percy Matayo, and a few new transfers boosted a team who are dwindling in last place. Star Mountain, just like Hekari, could not find the back of the net in the first half after a few missed opportunities as well. With a 0-0 scoreline in the first half, both teams had to come back strong in the second half. Star Mountain came prepared in the second half, and Tau Winnie capitalized with the team's first goal. The goal got Hekari riled up as they came on with a barrage of attempts at goal. Finally, Daniel Joe managed to get one past the keeper. With the goal, fans thought Hekari were back in the game, but just in the next play, Taman Romas got the lead back for Star Mountain with an impressive goal. Hekari's loss sees the team drop to third place behind Lei City FC. On third place, at the top of the ladder, Vitias United, who are in first. Frederick Sukina National, EMTV Sports.
Despite the cancellation of some big sporting events around the world because of COVID-19, the International Olympic Committee says the Olympics will still happen in July. Alvita Rapila, the secretary of the PNG Olympic Committee, made this known yesterday, but she did say they're getting updates regularly on the matter.
With countless sporting competitions internationally being cancelled due to the COVID-19 virus, the biggest collection of sports in one place, the Olympics, is still being scheduled for July. Secretary General of the PNG Olympic Committee, Alvita Rapila, said the International Olympic Committee is on track with the preparations.
At this stage, as of last week, the IOC president has announced that the games are on track and with preparations geared towards the games opening ceremony on the 24th of July. And so the organizing committee is also working towards the games scheduled for late July.
She added that a joint task force, which includes the World Health Organization, are looking at the situation closely.
The International Olympic Committee is part of a joint task force that is made up of WHO, IOC, Tokyo 2020 Games Organizing Committee and the Japanese government as well. And they are part of a joint task force that is in close consultation and dialogue and closely scrutinizing the preparations going into the games.
There might be some caution, though, with COVID-19 spreading around the globe. Olympic qualifiers are being put on hold across nations in fear of the COVID-19 virus, and athletes might not have the opportunity to qualify for the Olympics.
All that information is updated and also shared with all the National Olympic Committees, which we then communicate to all our sports, the national federations. So, yeah, we're playing it, each day and each week as changes occur. We are receiving those updates from IOC. So there is very, very close consultation there and dialogue with all the parties involved.
Fidelis Sukina, National EMTV Sports.
More stories after the break. Stay with us.
Trukai Sports.
Welcome back to Trukai Sports. Basketball in New Zealand is on the brink of financial ruin due to coronavirus. One News can reveal the financial implications of COVID-19 on the sport. It can survive only a matter of months if things don't improve.
Everyone knows the NBA is the centerpiece of global basketball.
It's gone! LeBron James!
But what many don't realise is that it also keeps the sport here afloat. So when coronavirus closed down the NBA, Basketball NZ boss Ian Potter knew he had a major problem.
The fact that the NBA has suspended their season has massive financial implications for us at the national office, but right down into our associations and communities.
The TAB pays out a share of its revenue to national sports organisations, revenue that comes from betting on pro sports like the NBA. Last year alone, the TAB distributed a total of $12 million to 34 different NSOs, with basketball receiving the biggest piece of the pie. That equates to a third of basketball's total revenue. With that on hold, BBNZ is on its knees.
If they get underway as usual and the wagering on basketball resumes, we would come through the other side probably badly bruised but okay. If they did not commence the next season in October, we will be approximately 650,000 short of what revenue we thought we would get.
Ian Potter believes job cuts are inevitable if things don't improve in 3 months. It doesn't stop there. The local NBL is due to start in 3 weeks, behind closed doors. That's also under considerable threat. Just today, the Southland Sharks saying the competition is not viable without gate takings.
If the virus hadn't have arrived, we had 8 viable teams, but with the virus and all the consequences, it's really throwing the cat amongst the pigeons.
BBNZ will make a call on the NBL in 10 days, but the next few months look like being the most pivotal in its history.
The Warriors owner has said the team is committed to staying in Australia for the remainder of the NRL season, which ends in October. The club's chief executive officer, Cameron George, has provided clarity, saying the teams will only stay if it works for players' families.
The Warriors remain in camp in Kingscliff with mixed messages about the length of their stay. This afternoon, the Sydney Morning Herald published comments from Warriors owner Mark Robinson, saying players are happy to stay as long as the competition continues, potentially until October. Until now, players had only committed publicly to staying until this weekend.
Now, obviously, if we're going to be in the competition, we need to stay there, and that's exactly what Mark was referring to. And, it's not off the table. It's certainly everyone's desire, but we're still working through the finer detail of what that could look like.
The reserve grade teams returned from Australia over the weekend, leaving behind a handful of players to make up numbers after Patrick Herbert and Petahiku flew back to be with family. The reshuffle has seen regular half Adam Kieran named to start at centre against the Raiders this weekend, while the club is looking to bring in other players on short-term loans from NRL rivals.
Look, it's a great option that the NRL have been able to put that on the table for us to look at, because the reality of the situation is we're stuck to get players over there to fulfil our roster. At present, we've got 24 players. Every other club's got 30.
Extra players would be good, while the team is still waiting on a shipment of training equipment to prepare for this unprecedented hurdle.
You're watching National EMTV News, the weather forecast for the next 24 hours when we come back.
True Kai Sports. True Kai Sports.
This weather update is proudly brought to you by Money Plus. With you always.
Weather forecast for tonight and tomorrow in the southern region: Port Moresby, cloudy with a shower or two. To the Mamase region in Madang, partly cloudy with afternoon showers developing. While to the Niugini Islands, Kavia and Kokopo and Rabaul, mostly fine to partly cloudy. And finally in the Highlands region, across all centres, partly cloudy with some rain showers developing.
The weather update was proudly brought to you by Money Plus. With you always.
And that's the news, sports and weather for today, Tuesday the 17th of March 2020. On behalf of the entire EMTV News team around the country, pleasant viewing. Good night.